Okay, so this is the first event that the titular The Boy has competed at. It's the Bay Area Bot Battles for August 2023, hosted by Brandon Kittredge and the BattleRobotKit.com. So I'll basically just be going over all of the fights that I had, try and explain what I was thinking during the matches, and then at the end I have some solutions that I've thought of for some of the problems I encountered. As well, you'll see the Fairyweight grudge match that you're seeing right now between myself and a full body spinner. So the first match that I had was against Duct Tape, and from all of the material that I saw previously, he was using UHMW wheel guards, so I had prepared with the saw blade design compared to my asymmetric, and then when we got down to the box, I realized that he had titanium wheel guards, which were looking real not good. So almost immediately I'd start to gyro, compared to normally riding on the button, which would give me some semblance of control. But I notice here that I can modulate the drive motor and kind of skirt around the arena, similar to what Troll Told did in one of its fights. So I'm basically just trying to keep the weapon pointed towards him. And I got a pretty good shot right there. I was hoping it was on his weapon motor, but it didn't seem to do anything. So this whole time I'm about 80% throttle, as I'm afraid 100% throttle will drain my battery before I can finish 3 minutes. But it's taken some pretty good hits. The blade is only 3mm AR 500 from Send Cut Send, and I've heard from multiple people that they thought it would just instantly bend. So I'm really glad that it's not doing that. So right here the button comes off, and I pretty much think to myself, oh no. As if I spin down and let myself sit on the little hex shaft there, I wouldn't be able to spin back up. So the wheel falls off as well. So at this point, I really have no control. I can just shuffle forward and then just barely modulate weapon to go left and right. So you can see I'm still kind of skating towards him. He does a nice big bounce there. Nice commentary from one of the audience members. So he's doing a lot of damage to the CF. I had to replace both plates there between this match and the next. But surprisingly, the TPU chassis is holding up extremely well as the gears. I didn't need to replace the chassis or any of the gears a single time. And so right now I start to realize, wow, I can actually kind of control it when it's literally just a weapon on a stick. So luckily, he frees me from the corner, but I notice that my weapon's not responding, so I tap. So good match to Duct Tape and good win. And so my next fight in this event was going to be against one of the organizers' bots, Tony, with his bot Subdue, which is just a big square with a wedge in front of it. And what you're seeing right now is some footage of him fighting against Derek's bot, Night Force. But unfortunately, he didn't have enough spares to feel competent competing, so he bowed out of the tournament, and I progressed onwards with a bye. And so the next match that I had was against a vertical spinner bot, 4-wheel drive, with a PETG body, and he had rulers as wheel guards, which was very inventive. It was pretty cool. You'll see after the match, I damaged them pretty heavily, and he showed me, but I wasn't able to get a photo, unfortunately. So let's start off this match. As well, you'll see that I'm using the stream footage as my phone decided to quit on me. So there might be some jumping around, but the audio is consistent. So right on that first shot, I kind of bend his plow up. His plow is TPU though, and snag one of his uprights, as well as tearing off that wheel guard. So the video starts to go chunky, but I kind of skate over the top of him a couple times. And that's an inherent problem with this asymmetric weapon, is that the bot likes to do a weasel war dance. And I'll include a clip of that at the end. But it kind of just jumps around all over the place and, sometimes snags a weapon, sometimes snags a wheel, who knows. But you can see there's a couple chunks flying off of him, and I am relatively unscathed. But right here, great pin, might I say. It jams up his weapon as well. But as I wasn't able to get the throttle all the way down right at the end, the gear spins up right there and pulls one of the leads from the motor off of the ESC and kind of binds it up. So it basically physically desoldered it. So I only have my drive at this point, but luckily his drive side finally dies, and he can't move anymore. I can barely move, so I just wait for the count out. And so my last match of the day was against the bot SlaughterMore. It's just a vertical Viper kit. He's pretty bunged up. I'm pretty bunged up. Between repairs from the previous fight and this one, I realized that all of the threading in the motor casing is completely shot. All of the aluminum stripped out. So the weapon motor is just hanging on by a thread with hot glue and super glue that someone lent to me. So I can spin up just slightly, but then almost immediately it jumps out of the groove. And you can hear me lament this. So I can spin slightly, but there's not much progress going on. He gets a pretty good pin, and I'm a bit worried that my drive wheel is going to get knocked off. So I just start crab walking around. A shout out to that volunteer. They were very spirited. They provided some of the judging during this day as well. And so the surprising thing is, with all of these shots on the carbon fiber, there was actually no damage to it, luckily, which was pretty surprising. So I'm begging the bot to spin up, just barely. But no real power is getting transmitted, unfortunately. And there my wheel comes off, and I tap out. And so that ends my run as 2 wins, 1 bye, technically. So 1 win and 2 losses. And so overall, it was a pretty good event. What you see in the background is this Fairweight grudge match. My bot is built into an Altoids tin, meant to look like a drag car. Unfortunately, the air dam is a little bit too low, and I got caught on pretty much every single piece of dust in the arena. And the opponent I'm going against is Alex, who has built a full body spinner. Neither of our bots are tested. This is the first time run in front of a whole audience, so we're hoping to give them a show. And so I'll let this play while I talk. But basically the 2 main problems that I faced was one, that the threading from the weapon motor disengaged over only like 2 fights basically. So I plan to take some C-clip pliers, get the rotor out of the stator, and put some nuts inside the stator, basically embed them in there so that the screws that are normally holding the weapon motor on are instead pulling against that and not just raw aluminum. Additionally, for the same problem, as you can see here, I'll just overlay it. I don't have anything constraining the weapon motor shaft on the top. It's just free floating. So I'm definitely going to put in a flanged bearing or something, bushing at the very least, just to get it to not be cantilevered, just to have some kind of support on that top. And so I lose one of my drives on this right around here, and I'm just barely eking forward. And so the other problem that I faced was the weapon shaft. It is really poorly made. It was the first thing I designed, and honestly should have been the last. It was way too oversimplified. Both the weapon hub and the gear and the lock nut were just held on by threads. I didn't have any set screw on the gear. It's just a normal M6 bolt. So what I plan for the next version is to get a partially threaded shoulder bolt and either take a CNC or just a Dremel and Dremel out a square piece, both for the weapon hub to fit on as a key-in, as well as a set screw location for the gear, basically. So that in the case that I lose the lock nut, which is normally constraining it from the top, I'm still able to engage power from the gear to the actual weapon shaft. So in the match right now, I'm very high centered. I think I have 0.2 millimeters of clearance under the air dam. But as well, we're looking a little bit worse for wear. And I believe around here he calls out that his battery has reached stall voltage, so he's not able to spin up his shell anymore. And I'll just let this play out, but after the match, we both smelled some of the funny smoke, and I was worried it was the battery, but it turned out that his 7 amp ESC for his weapon froze. So he spins it back up, luckily, gets another good couple shots. So I'll let this play out to the end, and then I'll include some shots of the damage of both the boy and this little fairy weight.
Gyro's fun! 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 1.
The stoat on the hunt will go nuts. This manic behavior gets the rabbit's attention. Who could ignore a stoat on steroids?